So we start with the CA final classes, indirect taxes, paper 8. First chapter is introduction to GST. So let's start with the subject. Let's start with the first chapter, introduction to GST. In this session, I'm going to discuss about the basics of GST, like what taxes got subsumed into GST, an overview and complete overview of GST I will be giving you in this session, and from the subsequent session we'll go to the detailed concept one by one. In this session I'm just going to give you an overview of the GST. What are the basic principles we have in the GST, right? Let's start with this. So the basics of GST. So first let's understand what is this concept of GST. So if you see earlier, before GST, so GST came into effect from 1st July 2017. Prior to 1st July 2017, we had different laws and different levies of tax like excise duty, service tax, sales tax, luxury tax, entertainment tax, multiple taxes we had, multiple levy we had. But what happened in GST? All these levies got subsumed into one law is GST. So earlier we had excise duty, we had service tax, we had sales tax, we had central sales tax, we had luxury tax. Likewise, we had multiple taxes in the earlier regime. Now what has happened? All these taxes have got subsumed into one law, which is GST. All these multiple levies, multiple taxes in the previous regime have got subsumed into one single law called as Goods and Service Tax, GST. That is the reason we call this as, you might watch in media, news everywhere. That's the reason it is called as one nation, one tax. Because multiple levies and multiple taxes which were levied in the previous laws have been subsumed into a single law called as GST. Now, India is not the first country to implement GST. This is a worldwide accepted concept. Many countries, around 160 countries in the world, have already implemented GST in some form or the other. So now in India also in 2017, GST was implemented. Many times you might come across people talking that GST is a difficult law. No, there are a lot of compliances in GST, because some of the students who are watching this, might be pursuing your articleship. Someone would have completed your articleship, someone would have just started your articleship, right? So you might keep listening from people talking that GST is somewhere, a confusing law, or a cumbersome law, or a complicated law. But if you see, the law is simple, but the problem is, since it is a complete new law, multiple taxes got subsumed into GST. There are state levies, there are central levies. That means state government was used to levy taxes on some transactions. Central government also was levying tax on certain transactions. See, unlike income tax in India is levied by only central government. I repeat, income tax in India is levied only by central government. But whereas in case of GST and indirect taxes, earlier state government was levying certain taxes, central government was also levying certain taxes, unlike in income tax where only central government used to levy income tax. So in GST also, these taxes, multiple taxes, have been subsumed into one law called as GST to make it more simplified, to give ease of doing business. But now initially, no doubt we'll have certain hiccups, because there will be certain difficulties, because it's a completely new law. So based on the recommendations of the industry, the government is trying their best to amend the law, to update the law, to plug the loopholes. Wherever there is no clarity, government is issuing clarity on day-to-day basis. So gradually and slowly, this law will become a good and simple law, right? So this is the basic structure, that GST is what? Basically, it's a consumption of multiple taxes. All these multiple taxes got subsumed into one law called as GST. Goods and service tax. Taxable event. What is this taxable event? See, earlier what happened, when someone manufactures goods, they pay excise duty. if someone does any sales, they pay sales tax. Someone provides a service, rendering a service, then service tax. So, just giving some examples. Earlier law, these were the taxable event. That means when you provide a service, earlier law we had to pay service tax. When you sell goods, when you do sales, you will have to pay sales tax. When you manufacture goods, when you manufacture certain items, on manufacture you have to pay excise duty. So these were taxable event. That means on happening of an event, tax was required to be paid. Liability arise in the books of accounts. So earlier these were the taxable event. That means when you do an event, pay the tax. When you do an event, pays the tax. So earlier there were multiple taxable events on the happening of which tax was required to be paid. Example, excise duty. Once you do manufacture, pay excise duty. When you sell goods, you pay sales tax. When you provide a service, pay service tax. Example, a chartered accountant was paying service tax earlier. A trader of goods was paying sales tax. A manufacturer was paying both manufacture. On manufacturer was paying excise duty, on sales he was paying sales tax. So multiple events. Now what has happened is all these events have got replaced by a single event called as supply. Now there is only one event which is called as supply. So all these taxable events do not exist anymore. So if you want, I will write here. Now these are replaced by one event called as supply. So earlier we had multiple events, but now there is only one important taxable event which is supply. When you do a supply, pay GST. When you supply, you pay GST. If you don't supply, don't know GST. Earlier manufacture, sales, service, all these terminologies are gone by, are a history. In GST, once you do a supply, pay GST. So supply is discussed in detail in section 7 of the Act. Now, many times you see people talking about CGST Act, they talk about SGST Act, they talk about IGST Act. But in your syllabus, we will be always referring to CGST Act only, because CGST Act is only one act, right? Because it is central government, only one CGST Act. But we have multiple SGST Act. What is this SGST? What is this CGST? I will explain you in detail in the coming sessions, but in the next slides and all, I will be giving a brief of what are the types of taxes we have in GST itself. In GST itself, we have certain bifurcations. I will explain you that, okay? So, when you do a supply, pay GST. No supply, no GST. So, supply is the taxable event. When you supply something, pay GST. Example, a chartered accountant supplies a service to his client, he will pay GST. A trader is supplying goods to his client, customer, he will pay GST. So everyone who is doing a supply will pay GST. What is a supply? It's a detailed definition, in-depth definition, where we'll go and we'll discuss in the coming sessions. In the coming sessions, future sessions, we'll discuss, and there is a separate chapter number 2, which is completely talking about supply. The entire chapter is only on this one word, which is supply. So this is the first chapter, introduction, but in the second chapter of supply, we will be talking in detail about supply. The entire chapter will revolve around supply. What supply includes, what supply excludes, when there is a supply, when there will not be a supply. So multiple things will be there in the supply definition. So that will deal in detail. But as of now, please remember, taxable event is supply. There are no more multiple taxable events, unlike earlier law. So now there is only one taxable event, supply, GST, no supply, no GST. Dual GST model. So now what is this dual GST model? So let's take an example. Supplier, let's say, is in Tamil Nadu. Customer, or generally we call it as a recipient. Recipient, let's say, is in Karnataka. Now, when a supplier in Tamil Nadu is supplying goods to a recipient in Karnataka, generally, now this we call this as an interstate supply. I will explain you, right? I will come to the next chart, then I will explain you. So let's say another example, first example, second example. Supplier in Tamil Nadu customer also in Tamil Nadu. Now, if you see here, supplier in Tamil Nadu is supplying goods to a customer in Tamil Nadu. This is called as an intra-state supply. See, what is this intra and inter? This is inter, this is intra. Intra means, intra-state means, see, if you see the general English meaning also, intra means within. Inter means one to another, one state to another state. Please note the wordings. Intra means within. Inter means one state to another, between two states, So here if you see, it's an intra-state, within the state transaction. What we charge here is, GST has multiple forms, CGST plus SGST. What will I charge? CGST plus SGST. So if it's an intra-state transaction, dual model GST, dual model, one CGST, another is SGST. It is a dual model GST. Basically, this concept is adopted in countries like Canada, Brazil. So we have also adopted that model, which is a Brazilian or Canadian model. Some countries have only single GST. They will charge only GST. That's it, one rate, 18%, 5%, 12%. Only single GST. But in India, we have dual GST. So we will not charge only single GST. We will charge two GSTs. One is CGST, which goes to central government, central GST. Another is SGST, state GST, which goes to the state government. So please note, CGST, the revenue goes to the central government. SGST, revenue goes to the state government. So central and state both has to get revenue, right? Because earlier you had multiple taxes levied by state government. You had multiple levies levied by central government. So both has to get revenue in GST. So they said fine, both will get 50% revenue. So GST has different forms. So when a supplier is supplying goods to customer, let's say the rate of GST is 18%. So 9% CGST, 9% SGST. Always it will be 50%. So let's say the rate is 12% transaction. On the example, a chartered accountant providing a service to his clients. Same. Every transaction is a GST levied. There is no goods or service. In the sense, there is goods and service, but no doubt, but there is GST on everything. So what I am trying to say is, whether you provide a service, whether you provide goods, tax will not differ. It is GST. So when a chartered accountant is providing service to his client and the client is in same state, a chartered accountant will charge him CGST plus SGST. The rate is 18%. So he will charge 9% CGST, 9% SGST. Let's say example, a supplier is supplying goods to his customer. The rate of GST is 12%. So we charge 6% CGST, 6% SGST. So what will be the rate of GST? 50 CGST, 50 SGST. So within the state, if we charge, within the state if we supply, see generally supplier and customer, generally this is called as place of supply. Place of supply is a different chapter. What is place of supply? Basically location of the recipient. But there is a separate chapter on place of supply which will deal in detail. Place of supply chapter is not there in CA Inter, but it is there in CA Final. So in CA Final, so in your syllabus we will discuss in detail about place of supply, what are the provisions of place of supply, where it will apply, where it will not apply. So section 10, 11, 12, 13 of place of supply chapter will deal in detail about all those place of supply provisions that we will discuss. So now, so place of supply is a concept. As of now, you need not be much concerned about it. Just take the location of the customer. So supply and customer both are in one state, same state, intra-state supply. Supply and customer both are in different state. Then what it will charge? Central government will charge IGST. What is this IGST? Integrated GST. Central GST, state GST, integrated GST. So if I supply from one state to another state, I will charge IGST. So if the rate is 18%, I will charge 18%. What will happen? Since dual GST model, I am charging only one GST. So what will happen? 50% revenue, a portion of the revenue will go to the state government. Please note, here supplier is charging the customer IGST. IGST revenue will go to the government. Central government will share one portion of the revenue to the state government. So within the same state, no confusion, CGST plus SGST. Because it's a dual GST model, within the same state, I will charge intra-state supply CGST plus SGST. But if I sell something outside the state, it is called as inter. Inter means between two states. So interstate supply. Please remember, between means it is inter, between. Within means it is intra, logic. So English meaning. So when you supply from one state to another state, you should charge always IGST, integrated GST. Central government will collect and pay portion of the revenue to the state government, right? So within same state, CGST plus GST. Across the state, different state, it will be IGST always. So if it is 18%, it will be IGST 18%. This 12%, IGST 12%. Now, what will happen here? Now, another concept. GST is a destination based tax. GST is a destination based tax. Earlier law were origin based tax. What is that origin? What is the destination? I will explain. So let's say example here. Supplies in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka is in customer. Before GST, what happened before GST? When a supplier from Tamil Nadu is supplying goods to customer in Karnataka. I repeat, supplier from Tamil Nadu supplying goods to a customer in Karnataka. What happened? The tax which is charging him, the revenue used to go to the Tamil Nadu government because it was origin based tax. Where the supplier is located, that government will get revenue. So earlier Tamil Nadu was getting revenue. What happened in GST? When Tamil Nadu government, customer in Tamil Nadu is supplying goods to a customer in Karnataka, a supplier in Tamil Nadu is supplying goods to a customer in Karnataka, destination means where the customer is located, that state will get the revenue of GST. So earlier it was origin based, now it is destination based. So shift from origin based to destination based. So earlier it was origin based, where the supplier is located, that government will get the entire revenue. But in GST, where the customer is located, he will get the revenue. So in a different transaction, what will happen? When a supplier from customer is supplying goods to supplier, Tamil Nadu. See, now Tamil Nadu is supplying goods to Karnataka. Now, let's say another example, some supplier in Karnataka is supplying goods to Tamil Nadu. What will happen? Revenue will come to the Tamil Nadu government because they are consuming state. So either way, sometimes they will compromise revenue, sometimes they will get more revenue. So earlier, in such transaction, Tamil Nadu was getting revenue, but Karnataka will get in this transaction. But another transaction where Karnataka is supplying to Tamil Nadu will get revenue. So somewhere they will lose, somewhere they will gain, right? So this is the concept. Now, in the earlier slide, I was telling you something like CGST Act, we have multiple SGST Act. Now I will tell you. So I thought first I will explain you this dual concept, then I will explain you the concept of Act. So if you see, we have CGST Act to levy CGST. Similarly, we have SGST Act to levy SGST also. Then IGST Act to levy IGST. So single law GST, but there are multiple acts. Because to levy that tax, there should be an act. Act is decided by the Constitution. That means the Constitution of India is the Bible. I repeat, Constitution of India is the Bible. They will give powers to the state government to levy certain taxes. They will give power to the central government to levy certain taxes. So central government, Constitution of India gives the powers to the Parliament, central government, state government to levy taxes in India. Constitution of India is the Bible. No one can say you, when you enter the room, you have to pay tax. When you exit the room, you have to pay tax, exit tax. So we all are in the room. Once you go out of the room, you pay exit tax. No one can say that, because to say that, they should have power from the Constitution of India. So central government also should get power from Constitution of India, otherwise they cannot levy any tax, right? So likewise, we have seen different levies. Please don't worry, I'm just giving you an overview now. In this session, I repeat, I'm only giving an overview. These all concepts I will explain you in detail in the coming sessions. Here I'm just giving an overview so that you will have a broad overview of GST in your mind when we start discussing in detail about this concepts. So these concepts I will explain you in detail in the forthcoming sessions. But this is, since it's an introductory session, I'm just giving you a broad overview of GST. All these concepts, destination based, intra-state, interstate, all these things I will explain you in detail in the coming sessions, right? So don't worry if you are not able to understand now. When I explain you in detail, you will understand in the coming sessions, okay? Now just giving you a broad overview. So there will be a CGST Act, one CGST Act. So in your syllabus, always we will refer to CGST Act, because SGST Act are also similar. Every state will have its own SGST Act. Please note, central government CGST Act they will pass, but SGST Act every state government has to pass. Every state government has to pass their SGST Act. So we will have so many states, and respectively every state will have a SGST Act. But CGST, SGST, all SGST acts and CGST act are replica, are 99% same, so need not worry. So just for simplicity, the subject, your institute material, the law will always refer to CGST act. The provisions whenever we discuss will always refer to CGST act, because CGST act, SGST act, all replica same 99%. So always we will discuss CGST act. So SGST act is not there in your syllabus. Please note, SGST act is not there in your syllabus. We will always refer to CGST act only. And IGST act is definitely applicable to your syllabus. There are separate chapters on IGST act, like place of supply, export of goods, export of service. So a lot of concepts are there in IGST act applicable to your syllabus. Whatever is applicable in your syllabus in IGST act, those things we'll discuss. Alright. So with this, let's move to the next concept. Concept of input tax credit. What is this concept of input tax credit? Now, let me give certain examples. So, supplier A supplies goods to customer B. Customer B supplies goods to customer C. So now, let's say he has charged goods, he has supplied him goods worth rupees 10,000. On that he has charged him GST, let's say 20% rate. Example, there is no rate like 20% in GST, just taking for simplicity of calculation. So let's say 20%. So let's me mention here 10% CGST, SGST, like this. Okay, so 10% of 10,000 is 1,000. No. So let's say supplier A is supplying goods to B worth rupees 10,000. On that he has charged him 10,000 rupees plus 10% CGST plus, so invoice value is 12,000 rupees. So please note, A supplied goods to B worth rupees 10,000. Let's say rate of GST is 20% within the same state. So let's say example, all in same state. So I have taken an example where all the parties are in same state, right? So they will start only all intra-state supply CGST plus GST. So let's say rate of GST is 20%, so 10% CGST, 10% GST. He is supplying goods to him. Bill amount is 12,000. So B will pay 12,000 rupees to A. B will pay bill amount to A. Now, when B is supplying goods to C, let's say 10,000 rupees, he has added a margin of 1,000 rupees. Let's take an example. He has charged a margin of 1,000 rupees. So, or let's take simplicity, not to confuse with 1,000. Let's say he has added a margin of 3,000 rupees. So B is selling to C for 13,000 rupees. 3,000 rupees is added margin, and he's charging tax. Let's say same product is selling to C, right? So 13,000 on that 10%, so 1,300. 10% CGST, 1,300, 10% SGST. So bill value is 13,000, 14, 15, 15,600, right? 15,600, right? So now bill comes to C. Now my point what I'm trying to say here is, when B is purchasing goods for him, he has paid 12,000 rupees to A. From his pocket he paid 12,000. Now he's selling to customer C. He's going to collect 15,600 from C. So how much tax is collecting from C? 1,300. Will he pay this tax fully to the government? Will he pay this 1,300, 2,600 rupees? Will he pay to the government? He will not pay fully to the government. What he will do is, when he collects this tax of 2,600 rupees CGST plus SGST, he will take this as input tax credit. We call it as input tax credit. He will take a set off. So 1,300, how will he pay? So liability of B. So CGST, how much he will pay? 1,300 minus 1,000 rupees. So he will pay 300 rupees to the government. And SGST will pay similarly 1,300 minus 1,300 to the government. Because input tax rate is whatever you have paid tax, whatever tax you have paid on your supply. I repeat, please focus. Whatever tax you have paid on your supply. See, those who are doing articleship probably might be aware of this concept because you would have filed GST returns or you would have seen some compliance. But those who are purely into audit, they might not be aware of this concept, or those who are just starting a concept, articleship, you might not even know what is input tax credit. So please understand, please focus. I'm just explaining you a very important concept of what is input tax credit. When I purchase goods, when I procure goods, I will pay tax to my supplier. Like B paid to A, I will pay tax to my supplier. Now, this is an indirect tax. GST is an indirect tax. In case of direct tax like income tax, you bear the burden. You bear the burden. You pay tax out of your own pocket. So let's say example, in a year a person A has earned 10 lakh rupees income, 10 lakh rupees income. Out of the 10 lakh rupees, he will pay income tax out of his own pocket. He will have to bear. So out of 10 lakhs, he might pay 70,000 rupees as tax. So his net income will be only 9,30,000 rupees. But in case of indirect tax, you do not pay out of your own pocket. You collect and pay because it is indirect tax. Income tax is a direct tax. Directly you bear the burden. But in indirect tax, you don't bear the burden directly because you only collect and pay to the government. You collect from the customer, pay to the government. So when A is collecting tax from B, A will collect from B and pay to the government. Whether A is bearing from his pocket, nothing is bearing from his pocket. His income is 10,000 rupees. His margin is, his income is 10,000 rupees. He is collecting tax from the customer. The tax he will collect and pay to the government. As he borne this out of his own pocket, he is not borne out of his own pocket. Whereas income tax he will pay out of this 10,000 rupees. When he is selling goods, he will have a profit of this. On that profit, he will pay income tax to the government out of his own pocket. But indirect tax, he is collecting. He is telling B, see, you pay me CGST tax because government says there is a tax. So you pay me CGST also, you pay me SGST also. So A is demanding tax from B, B is paying tax to him, and he is paying to the government. So A is not bearing out of his own pocket. Now, similarly, when you come to B, B has paid tax to A. Why B should bear this burden? Why B? Because B paid 12,000 rupees to him out of his own pocket. Why B should bear the burden? B also should not bear the burden because it's indirect tax. So when he's charging his customer 1,300, 1,300, he's collecting from him. So already he paid 1,000. So that he will reduce and he will pay balance only to the government. So what will happen? The 1,000 which he paid to the supplier, the 1,000 what he paid, he has collected back from his customer. Net amount only 300 is paying to the government, right? That is the concept of input tax credit. I will explain you this concept in detail with examples, with a detailed example how goods flow from A to B, B to C, etc., with numerical figures in the coming session. So don't worry, I will explain you this concept in detail in the coming session. And input tax rate is a major chapter in your syllabus. In your syllabus, it's a very lengthy chapter, input tax rate. So that chapter will discuss in detail with various examples, all the concepts, where we can take credit, where we cannot take credit, all these things we'll discuss. So here I am just giving you a glimpse of the concept of input tax rate. So what we will do is we will take input tax credit. So 1,000 he already paid off his own pocket. So the 1,000 is getting reimbursed from the customer plus 300. The 300 will pay to the government. 1,000 he will take as input tax credit. So this will talk as input tax credits. So whatever tax you pay to the supplier, take an input credit of that. Whatever tax you pay to the supplier, take a credit of that. Take a credit of that. So whenever we procure something from the supplier, we always take that input tax rate. The tax which you pay to the supplier is never a cost. But whereas if the end customer buys, I repeat, whereas if the end customer, let's say example for your studies, you are studying CA. So for studying CA, you are purchasing a laptop so that you want to watch a lot of online classes, or you want to do some written research, or doing articleship, you want to do some work, project work, etc. So for that, you're purchasing a laptop. So when you buy a laptop, you will pay tax also. On that purchase of laptop, you will pay some indirect tax, GST also to the supplier. The GST you cannot take a credit, that is a cost to you. When you go in a hotel, and eat in a hotel restaurant, you go with your friends, let's say after CA exams, you go and party with your friends, you go to a hotel and eat lunch there, eat dinner there. On the food, the restaurant will charge you GST. The GST you cannot take a credit, that is a cost. So end customers, GST is a cost. But everyone who is into business to business transactions, everywhere we can take input tax rate. The tax which you pay on purchase of goods or services, on that you never take it as a cost, you always take that as an input tax rate. So whatever you pay on your purchases, procurement of goods or receipt of services, whatever tax you pay on them is never a cost, you take as input tax rate, right? So that is the concept of input tax rate. Now, this was an intrastate transaction within state. Let's say example, this is an intrastate transaction. So supplier A supplies goods to B. Let's say this is in Tamil Nadu, this is in Delhi. So one territory to another territory, one state to another. In that case, what happens? One state to another union territory. Delhi and all with state legislature. Those concepts I will explain in the coming sessions. But one to another. In that case, what happens? They will charge IGST. And when B supplies, let's say to another customer in Maharashtra, in that case also they will charge IGST. So IGST, so they will take credit. This IGST they pay on purchase, that IGST can be taken credit against IGST on outward supplies, on sales. Now let's say example, Delhi supplies someone to someone in Delhi. What they will charge? C plus SGST. So Delhi procures goods from Tamil Nadu, they charge IGST. Delhi to Maharashtra, they will charge IGST. So IGST they can take credit. Or if Delhi even charges supplies goods to Delhi supplier to customer in same Delhi, then they will charge CGST, SGST. That IGST they paid on procurement, that also can be taken credit against CGST, SGST also. So there is no barrier whether you purchase from outside the state or whether you sell within the state. Input tax credit is always allowed. Please note, please focus. Input tax credit, whether you purchase within the state or whether you purchase from outside the state, whatever GST is levied, we can take input tax credit. There is no barrier anywhere. So input tax credit concept is a beautiful concept which was already there in the earlier law also. But in the earlier law, there were certain hiccups. All these hiccups have been removed to a greater extent in GST law. So it is providing a seamless credit in GST. So everyone who is into business can take credit, whether you procure goods or services within the same state or you purchase the goods or services from outside the state. There is input tax credit at each leg of the supply chain, right? Now I'm just trying to explain you the last concept here. What are the types of supply? So just as I said, I'm just giving a glimpse of what is GST, what is input tax rate, how they are charging in intra-state, interstate, what taxes got subsumed, what type of levies we have. So just trying to give you an broad overview of the GST, right? So now, when you're talking about supply, I explained the supply is a taxable event, but you can have different types of supply also. Let's example, non-taxable supply. What is non-taxable supplies? There are two non-taxable supplies. One is liquor, another is petrol. So liquor and petrol are still not in GST. The name itself says non-taxable supplies. These are not covered in the GST law. These are both outside the purview of GST. On liquor, sale of liquor, there is no GST. Still there is VAT and excise duty. Similarly in petrol, when you fill petrol in your vehicles, petrol is also not come under GST, not subsumed under GST. Petrol, still excise duty and VAT is applicable. On petrol, central excise duty and VAT or CST. And in case of liquor, state excise duty and VAT or CST. I will explain you in detail in the coming sessions. But just giving an overview, that there are certain products still not come under GST, which are liquor and petrol. So these two are called as non-taxable supplies because these are non-taxable in GST. These are not taxable in GST because outside the purview of GST law, they are still not come under GST. So old levies like sales tax, excise duties are only charged on this. No GST is charged on these two items, right? Then we have something called as taxable supplies. Now, taxable supply is something what? Which is leviable to tax under this act. That means which are all taxable. So chartered accountant providing consultancy service, taxable supply. Selling a laptop, mobile phone, everything is taxable. So taxable means it's liable to tax under this act. Now, there is something called as exempt supply. Exempt supply. There is something called as zero rate supply also. What is exempt supply and zero rate supply? That means taxable supply can be taxable or it can be exempt also. What is exempt supply? Exempt supplies, the name denotes exempt, something which is exempt from tax. Let's say example, education service. When a school is providing service to its students, it collects fees from the students. They are providing a service. It is a supply. GST should be paid, but it is saying it is exempt from GST. That means don't pay GST on that because education is a basic service in our country. Similarly, a healthcare service. When someone goes to hospital, gets a COVID treatment, When the hospital gives him a bill for COVID treatment, COVID-19 treatment, they will not charge GST because healthcare service has been kept out of GST. That means it is within GST, but it has been exempt from GST. So those are called as exempt supplies. Now, there is something called as even zero rated supplies. What is zero rated supply? Name denotes zero rate. That means supplies which are taxable at the rate of 0%. I repeat, supplies which are taxable at the rate of 0% are zero rated supplies. So taxable supplies, zero rated supplies are also taxable supply, but they are taxable at the rate of 0%. I repeat, they are taxable at the rate of 0%. Now, exempt supply is something on which you need not pay tax because these are exempted by a notification. The government has powers that already, although there is something which is covered in the purview of GST law, we will exempt from GST, like education service, healthcare service. So certain services they have been exempted in GST. Certain goods also, like fruits, vegetables. When you buy fruits and vegetables from a supermarket, do you pay GST? So you don't pay GST, right? So there is something called as exempt supply also. There is something called as taxable supply also. Taxable supply also includes zero rate supply. So exempt supply is something which is exempted by notification. Example, fruits, vegetables. When we go and buy fruits and vegetables, they do not charge us GST because fruits, vegetables are exempt from GST. Milk is exempt from. So there are products and services which are basic necessities have been exempted from GST. That means don't pay GST. Zero rate supply I will discuss in detail when we go in the future sessions, future chapters. There are detailed subjects. Zero rate supplies are taxable at the rate of 0%. This is exempt. This is taxable but at 0%. So zero rate supply is also a taxable supply. Repeat, zero rate supply is also a taxable supply but taxable at the rate of 0%. Right? So with this, I have explained you some basic concepts. Right? So I hope these concepts are clear to you. Last thing what I am coming to here is certain procedure or compliance you have to follow. Now, when I talk about supply, so once you do a supply, then you have to pay tax, right? So then once you start making supplies, once you do a supply, then only it is taxable, right? Because taxable event is supply. So once you do a taxable supply, then all the provisions will follow. Then you have to say when I have to pay tax, time of supply. You have to register, registration, time of supply, place of supply, what tax I have to pay to the government, intra-state or interstate supply, what value I have to charge GST to the government, value of supply, right? Input tax rate, so ITC chapter, input tax rate. So all the provisions of the law will come simultaneously. So first the important trigger point is supply, then the procedures will keep following. So first place of supply, time of supply, supply once you do supply, check when you have to pay, what you have to pay CGST, GST. So all the chapters we have in detailed concept. So every concept is a detailed chapter in your syllabus. When I talk about place of supply, that is also a detailed chapter in your syllabus. Time of supply, that is also a separate chapter in your syllabus. Value of supply is also a separate chapter in your syllabus because there are a lot of permutation combination. Example, value of supply. On what value you will pay tax? When you have related party transactions, when you have certain peculiar transactions, when you charge other charges in your bills, will that also be included in the value for the purpose of charging GST? So a lot of permutation, combination, nitty-gritties are there in every word. So everything is a different chapter in your syllabus. So likewise, we have a lot of procedures, compliance. Then let's say example, someone doesn't pay tax to the government. So government will issue a tax, government will issue a notice. So demand and recovery chapter is there. Government will sometimes go and do inspection, search and seizure. Government will go to the SSC's premises. You might be reading in newspapers, right? People have done offences, penalties, government is arresting them under GST law, a lot of offences have happened. So all these are all chapters under your syllabus. So example, if government sends you a notice, you don't agree with the government's notice, you can go and file an appeal. So all these are also separate chapters. These are all procedure compliances which will be there in your syllabus. So each and everything we'll discuss as a separate chapter. So right now we are discussing introduction chapter, the first session. Now in the future sessions of this introduction chapter, I will keep explaining you basic concepts in detail, right? Hopefully you have understood the broad overview of GST. With this, thank you and take care.